So we are at AI Heroes in Torino, Museo dell'Automobile, with Leonardo Chiariglione, who is now with MPAI, but clearly the first part of the name, MP, means something important for Torino, for the industry, for technology, for mostly everybody that lives with technology today. Tell me about Leonardo Chiariglione first, MPAI later.
Well, so as a person, I have a PhD in electrical communication from the University of Tokyo. I've worked for many, many years, roughly 1/3 of a century.
Wow.
At the Research Center of Telecom Italia, which now no longer exists, but did great things there. And then while I was at Telecom Italia, I started this group, coding of moving picture and audio, known as MPEG. I mean, in the 32 years that I have been there, leading the group, we produced about 200 standards. And you know, producing a standard is not writing a paper.
No, I think it's I'm not an expert, but I can understand it's complex.
It's more complicated than that. Of course, there is drafting, but there's a lot of preliminary discussion, and sometimes they are very, very hard. But eventually, you get to something that is approved by the group, and then it is submitted to the national bodies, and they make comments. Comments are processed. New text is produced, sent to the national bodies. National bodies have more comments, but that doesn't last time, because then we answer all these. The national body, so there is one last follow-up. So this is the process in MPEG, which by the way no longer exists, because the MPEG that I created has been split in different things. People still call it MPEG, which is fine. I mean, there's so many so many uses of the word MPEG. People say MPEG to mean a file format. They mean MPEG to say a standard. They mean MPEG to say a group. There's so many uses, and so if someone wants to use it improperly, there's no way to prevent it. Particularly because, by the way, the word MPEG has been trademarked by a company that I don't want to name here.
But in general, I mean, you see it from your side. I'm thinking more, how many people have used, adopted something that you started? I mean, it's relevant, right?
Counting that would be extremely, extremely difficult. I have been given a lifetime achievement award
Exactly.
by Torino recently, and they mentioned billions of devices and services.
Exactly.
Well, that is the numbers that we are talking about. Indeed, it was. I mean, MPEG was started with the idea of why can I not play or see an American video on my cassette or see it on my television set. That was so stupid. Yeah. And so that should not happen. Now we move to the digital world, we should prevent that from happening. I proposed that, people believed in it, I don't think they were disappointed by the results, and so here we are. But
AI.
But that is something that is the past. That it's good to remember past things, particularly because the memories are good, but we have to look to the future. Essentially, MPEG was driven by the application of signal processing, data processing technology to media. That is essentially what we did. Even though in the later years we also applied the same technology to the DNA, because the DNA is a digital thing.
That I didn't know.
And if you sequence a DNA, you have to repeat a lot of times the sequencing you have a lot of data that are highly correlated, and so there is a space to apply compression technology there as well. But when I left MPEG and closed MPEG, by the way, that was for me a signal that an age has closed and the new one was opening. I did say that we opened it because, AI has been around for a long time, but not in terms of standards as we did in MPEG. So the type of standards that says, okay, this is data, there's a network here, and there's a result there. I mean, no one had ever attempted standardization, and I thought that applying the same methodology that we applied for MPEG to media data could be applied to any data, even though MPAI stands for moving picture, audio, and data coding by artificial intelligence. That is the meaning of the acronym. So,
and what's the idea behind it?
The idea behind it is to define standards so that we could facilitate the mass production of AI-based applications.
Okay.
So that's the basic. This is no different from MPEG in a certain sense.
Yeah.
But the approach is completely different because here we don't do what we did in MPEG, that we go there and we define very precisely the syntax of the bit stream. I mean, it can also be done sometimes, but it is not the main job. So the main goal that we set to ourselves is, so you have this big, monolithic, obscure AI applications. You use it, you are pleased of it, but you don't know how it works. How was all that trained? Who guarantees of the goodness of what is produced there? So if I am using an autonomous car, and that autonomous car uses some AI inside, so how, if there's an accident, who's the fault? So unless you have some understanding, I'm not saying precise understanding of what is happening bit by bit. It's no longer that age. But at least a rough understanding of this is data, comes here, comes here, comes here, and the result is there. Okay, that is the route. So more or less I understand why something happened. So we have defined a framework that we call AI framework, which is an environment where you can assemble what we call AI modules in AI workflows. So the AI framework executes AI workflows. So the workflows are defined by the input and output data, and are defined by what the workflow does. And the pieces inside, which are AI modules, are defined by the input data, output data, the function. There's one more thing that we have to say. We have also to say more about the topology. So we have a lot of things. We should say how they are connected. So by means of that, and now we have 9 standards that have been published. 5 of them have been adopted without modification by IEEE. So I think that we have something concrete that industry can take up, because the eventual goal is, if I define and I standardize the input and output data and the function, then it is possible for someone who is very experienced in that particular processing to provide an AI modules that can be plugged in somebody else's workflow. So it is the idea of creating an open market where you can buy an AIM that is guaranteed to be a standard. Then how do we guarantee that it is a standard? That's something that I will say next. But if we have there, then we can create a global market. And here we are going to talk about billions of of samples again.
Yeah.
So standards. So how do we verify that an implementation is a standard? Okay, so we define what is called conformance testing. So we have a standard. So the standard is in a sense the law.
Yeah.
Conformance testing is the tribunal. The tribunal is what says, okay, get me here, let me see what the law says. Okay, yes, no. Okay, so that's what.
So it's an approval process.
It's an approval process. Of course, there is nothing mandatory. So we are not in the business of mandating anything. But we have a
But it's a certification. The idea is having a certification.
The certification is what we call conformance testing. So that is carried out by an entity that we have established. It is a Scottish company, not for profit. This company has the task of receiving implementations, testing the implementation for conformance, testing also that they are secure. I mean, all that is necessary, and then they post it on the website. So the idea is that unlike what you do today, you download an application. Now you can download a module.
Yeah.
And you create the application yourself. So that is what we are doing, and I think that we are working well in that direction.
No, so it's fascinating, and thank you, and congrats for the energy. Grazie.
Okay.
From Torino, by the way.
Okay.
Grazie.